You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body Awareness and Self-Care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Greenwich Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to Creating Heaven on Earth, ascending from the 3D to the 5D. You are here with Mandee Elam, and each Saturday I like to host a discussion about grounding our collective vision of heaven to earth and what that looks like, what the difference is between the dimensions, what we as individuals can do to assist in the collective ascension. And right now we have a lot going on, as we all know, within the world. And the very deep wound of racism has risen again at this time for a deeper level of healing. And I'm really excited because today we sent out an email kind of thing in Heart Over Ego Radio to the team to see if anyone would be interested in hosting a panel discussion about this. And a beautiful team of wonderful women responded. We have a panel of 7 sisters today. And the way I would like to introduce this discussion is I'm going to bring on each of our guests individually. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who they are, maybe their position on this network, the work and the light that they offer in this world, and then your opening thoughts on how this issue is affecting you right now. Each woman is going to get about a minute to do that. So with no further ado, I would like to first welcome on Jennie McDaniel, the co-founder of our beautiful network here on Heart Over Ego Radio. And Jennie, if you could just take a minute to introduce yourself, tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and your magic in this world, and then your opening thoughts on how racism is impacting your heart today.
Thank you very much, Mandee. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. We do have a powerful crew here in the physical and the non-physical, so I'm excited to participate. I'm Jennie McDaniel. I do several shows on the Heart Over Ego Radio Network, as well as our sister network, Third Eye Political Radio. I do shamanic healings. I do past life journeys. I do emotional healing, psychic healing, spiritual healing, and psychological healing. So do a combination of all of that. You can find my website at www.thealchemysisters.com. And we have stuff on Facebook and Instagram too. So definitely find us. And you can find our whole network on any major podcast app. Just search Heart Over Ego Radio and you'll get all those shows that were just listed on our commercial. And, well, for my opening thought, we were talking before the show, and this is not new news here. This is not something that we are just first being exposed to, the idea of racism and it being a big deal and our cops getting out of hand with their ego. So my opening statement would be, if I could intervene, I would stop collecting cops from the military. The military has a way of breaking down the psyche of a human so that they are better soldiers. It's not a natural inclination to kill someone, but you need a soldier to be able to kill someone. So if you've ever watched Full Metal Jacket, that's a hyped up version of probably what happens in the psyche of a soldier to break them down and to build them into a soldier. Now, we do need soldiers and we do need warriors, but I don't know if they should go into public service as much as they do. 20% of our police staff are retired military. Now, I don't want to blanket statement things and say, hey, military, you have no place ever in public service. They may, but I think some psychological examinations should be present.
I think beautiful. Mm-hmm. I love it. And we're going to put that on the panel of topics. what's happening right now with the military and with the police, and what we can do to maybe adjust and grow in that situation, because we're certainly seeing balances and imbalances right now within that construct. And I'm really glad that you brought that up. So as we continue this discussion and we invite on all of our amazing guests, I do want to take just a minute to tell everyone who I am introducing. Obviously, we just had the beautiful Jennie McDaniel. We will be having Lila Simmons, Leah Shugart, June Love, Crystal Jordan, Naomi Paulson Calderon, and myself, Mandee Elam, all weighing in on this panel today. So with no further ado, I'd like to invite in our next guest, who is Lila Simmons. Lila, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your magic in this world right now, and your opening thoughts on this topic?
I am Lila, like Mandee said, and I am a healing artist. That includes energy healing, mindset work, coaching. I consider all of that the healing arts world. I also work with essential oils and crystals. I'm a bit of a healing arts chameleon. So if I encounter it, chances are I've mixed it into my work somehow. I am also the co-host of Rain Radio, which is the Friday show on the first Friday show on Heart Over Ego, along with Naomi Paulson Calderon. And our focus with our show is to kind of give you an inside view into two healers working on their own shit so that hopefully you can see that it's not all sunshine and roses. It's quite messy a lot of the time, but it's also really delicious and powerful. And my stance for where we are in the conversation that we're about to have is we all need healing. Like, no matter what our skin complexion is, we all need healing. Like, all of our ancestors experienced some traumas, and all of that needs to be healed. I'll stop there.
I love it. Beautiful. We are adding ancestral trauma and individual healing to our list of discussion points. Well, with that said, why don't we bring on Naomi right after you, since the two of you work closely together. So welcome, Naomi. We are so excited you're here today.
Thank you so much. It is such a joy and such a pleasure to be teaming up with all of you and to be holding and standing in this space for change. As Lila said, I am the co-host of Rain Radio, which is all about sovereignty and life mastery. And my specialty, Lila makes me use the H word. I'm a speaker, a coach, and a healer. I am originally from Iowa, so the middle of the country, good corn-fed white bread. I happen to be married to a Native American gentleman and who is a spiritual healer. And so for me, this topic is an interesting one. I work with people to really heal old baggage that they bring from childhood, sometimes from before that. And so this topic to me is so necessary because I think that some of the healing we've done in the past on it has been surface. Some has been a little deeper, but I think that there are some old, deep, generational wounds that it's simply time. It's time. I've had some mixed emotions, and I'm sure we'll get into that on this topic because I was raised in a family that was very much unconsciously biased, occasionally verbally racist, and it's. I mean, nobody was running around in white hoods, and yet. And so I've had to unlearn a lot of that. And I also understand that there's a lot more ingrained that I'm not even aware of. And so I'm looking at what's my responsibility.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And that's something that we on Heart Over Ego are always encouraging people to take a deeper look into what it is that they can heal within themselves. And the concept of unlearning, I think, is going to be one of the biggest healing components or modalities, if you will, of healing this racism wound. So thank you, Naomi. We are so excited you're here, and that is a great topic to bring up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Excellent. So next up, let's welcome Miss June Love.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, June. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your magic in this world, and your opening thoughts?
Yes, I'm June Love. I am a Reiki master. My company is Transcending Love. I'm a Dove Essence practitioner where I do life coaching and spiritual advice. I work with people breaking generational curses. I do energetic readings to see how, I read your energy, which helps me to find out what's going on in your past life or in your past. So I work with all types of people and all types of situations. So I like that word. I use the word the art of healing. And I'm an author, the author of The Art of Reading and Manifesting Your World with the Power of Transmutation. And my opening is based on I work with people with programming. And a lot of us are programmed with the I think it's Jim Crow. That big deal there is something that has been around for generations that we have to break. So we have to break this generational curse. It's come back to us, and so we have to figure out what programs is going on that's causing us to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So there we go.
Beautiful. I honor it. Thank you so much for being with us today, June. Next, I would like to welcome Leah Shugart. Welcome to the panel.
Hey, Mandee. Thank you. So I am currently in Chattanooga, Tennessee, deep south. I work as a yoga teacher and a massage therapist. I practice energy work as well. I consider myself, I guess, like a professional mystic, offering all sorts of like one-on-one experiences with women, as well as creating and holding space for larger gatherings of women for transformational experiences through ceremony and ritual, and these really old practices that resonate with me. Where I'm at with all of this right now, everything that you guys have said has been absolutely beautiful. Back in 2017, I met a spiritual teacher who's very, I don't know the best word for this. She put me in touch with my privilege as a white woman and made it very, very clear to me that there were some things that I had, never really looked at before, because I do live in a bubble here in the South, especially in the industry of holistic health and wellness. It is very much catered to white, able-bodied women. So this was the first time that this had really been put in front of me to really view. And so I spent some time unpacking a lot of my own stuff as well, and getting really messy and up close and personal with things that I just never paid any attention to, things I didn't realize that were there as far as this conditioning and whatnot goes. So I am feeling these days still like I have so much to learn, and I want to find, my own kind of sense of duality in this space so that I can be, of service to the movement, of course, and then just really, help to, find that space of alignment for, for us as a collective. And I know there's a lot of work to do in that space. So I'm feeling empowered and motivated, but also still very aware that there's lots of unpacking to do still. So
beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Leah. And last but not least of our panel guests, before I go myself, is Crystal Jordan. Welcome, Crystal.
Hello, and thank you guys for having me. So I am the owner of Mid-Mitten Medium. I am an empath on steroids. I feel everything on this earth possible, which I try not to, but I'm working on that. I believe fully that I'm heart chakra. I do heal, I do channel, and I do see from a different perspective, which all of you ladies do. With my channeling, I do believe that it puts me in a different place of being a mediator, which I think I'm just now starting to fully comprehend and understand, which is wonderful. If I were going to say that I have a stance here, there's a couple different things. One, I believe that healing starts with sitting down and actively listening and also feeling like you have a safe place to speak. And I believe that all sides need to understand that we can't ever fully understand. And so I believe wholeheartedly that we just need to sit from a place of I hear you and really try to listen to what people are saying. And with that comes actively listening and not believing that everybody's out to attack us. Because we all need to understand that perception is 100% reality. And in this, healing comes from whatever perspective we've been raised in. And so just because it's not my world, it's not my life, doesn't mean that it's not the truth for somebody else. And I believe fully that we need to understand that before we can move forward. I live in a very predominantly white town, very racist, have a racist background with my family. I have been unlearning these things my whole entire life, and I have absolutely no clue how to have conversations, and I don't even really have the means to have these conversations that I would love to be able to have with people because my town is filled with white people who don't understand. And so for me, I want to step outside of my space and have a space to hold with people who, I guess, have the openness to be angry, but also understand that I'm not here to judge their conversation. And I would love for more people also to have the ability to step outside of their perspective, to listen and really open up their heart chakra to, I guess, hearing somebody for maybe the first time, because I really, really believe that a lot of people right now are screaming to be heard. And I think that's the physical manifestation of what we're seeing right now. Years and years have kept people from being heard and seen. And I believe fully that that's what we're seeing. And I really wish more people could get behind the fact that we have physical manifestations that take place after years and years of trauma. And I believe that that's what's happening. And I want to be different. I want to teach my son to be different. And I want him to teach his children to be different. And so that's where my mind and heart space are right now in this.
Beautiful.
That's
welcome.
it.
And thank you to the panel. Woohoo!
That
Last
is
but not
amazing.
least.
I'm just in tears right now. Like, oh my, wow.
So it is, and we're gonna open this shit up right now here, real quick. I'm Mandee Elam. I host the Alchemy Sisters with Jennie McDaniel. You can find my work on our website, thealchemysisters.com. I'm an intuitive empowerment coach. So what I do is I work one-on-one with clients. I connect with your higher self and your angel team to make sense of what's going on now and why, and the action steps and the grounding steps that we can take to start creating and manifesting the things that you want and calling that into your life. So I also help with a lot of healing as well. And something that, as well as all these amazing topics that have been brought up by the women before me, something that I really want to bring into light is actions and reactions. And something we're seeing right now via the Facebook world and the social media world, even though we're all socially distanced and physically distanced, we are looking still to see what other people think or might think, what our actions and our reactions are. And it often is creating alliances and fueling this fire. And something that I'd like to see as we're starting to unpack this wound even more is paying attention to what our actions and our reactions are individually and how that is either going to feed this or diffuse this collectively. So with no further ado, ladies, is there anyone who wants to jump in right away and get this conversation started?
Well, I did want to mention something about the actions and reactions.
You go to town.
And I call that the art of observation. And when I'm coaching coaching people and myself, when I'm noticing that I'm reacting to something, or I'm frustrated, like over a 5, between a 0 and a 10, I'm like there, almost there, and then I go into the space of observation. And you have to stop. So I have to stop, ground myself, and then observe instead of reacting.
Mm.
And so
Beautiful. That's
yes.
your medicine for it. You're
That's
like,
my medicine.
stop out, hold up, and this is how you like create the change within you, right?
Right. But it took a long time. I mean, it's practice. You have to practice observation because you literally can't say anything. You can't really you have to react later. You have to practice reacting later or acting later instead of reacting.
I agree 100%. I've actually been attempting. I don't know what that is called, June, but thank you for putting it out there because I've been having to do that all week because I am so angry. And it's like, Crystal, pull back, reground. Right. And my guides, I mean, for all of you spiritual people and empaths out there who are listening, my guides this week have been focusing on there are two different ways to be grounded. You can be the spruce that is able to bend and sway in the wind, or you can be the oak tree that is solid in its stance. And so they've been teaching me and clients to be the oak tree instead of the one that sways. And so what you just said is such a beautiful way to put that because it's like, holy cow, that's exactly what I need because I'm pissed. Like, I'm so angry right now.
And many of the leaders, Leah might be able to weigh in on this, astrologically with all the retrogrades, the more action-oriented leaders, which I certainly consider you, Crystal, knowing you and working well with you, are being called this month to be much more yin energy and relax and go within in order to master these lessons within. You know, this is how we heal. This is this revolution that we're fighting right now. This whole evolution starts with like the inner revolution and what you're going to do about it and create the change. So the two of you are bringing up, you know, action steps. Boom. Everyone listening, now you know how you can handle something when it's starting to bring a trigger up within you or a feeling or an energy that you're wanting to perhaps shift or change or use creatively.
Yes. It's beautiful. You know, I wanted to mention what June was talking about pulling back and observing. It's exactly what I do, and it's exactly what I tell my clients. Because when you pull back and you observe, you become objective, and you stand back from your human emotions. You're still yourself. You're going to have some. But if you can just pan back and look at the bigger picture, we can see some functionality that we can't when we're in the focus freak-out moment. So panning back, being objective, brilliant spiritual lesson. It's so helpful. It brings ease and grace, and it does heal, which then gives us freedom from these heavy anxieties. Not going to be perfect here, but we can get rid of them as best we can. And my advice to just myself and everybody is this is going to be a marathon. It's less of a sprint. We're all fired up. We have parallel lives, past lives, whatever you want to call it, where we've been oppressed, suppressed, and repressed in every way, shape, and form you could imagine. Called heretics, called witches. Here we are coming back to help alchemize and shift the dynamics of the planet. It's going to take a bit of time. We've already been doing it. Are doing it in parallel lives. We're just adding to that thickness of pushing that ego into a corner and saying, you can't just be glommed on everyone. Racism has to go. Ego has to be alchemized, which is why Mandee and I call ourselves the Alchemy Sisters. We're down for alchemizing that ego into heart energy. You can be an alchemist. Well, might as well.
Well, and something Mandee, I think it was you who said something about the yin side of things, and that goes with that, this being not a sprint, and alchemizing that with the yin. That's been part of what I see as the one of the issues that has been in place is we have been conditioned, I don't think just in this culture, but I definitely here in our culture here in the U.S., to approach everything from the masculine. Mm-hmm. And we've been shoving, so everything is yang, it's fiery, it's expressive, it's doing. Mm-hmm. Instead of that leaning back and allowing that yin, that feminine, to be part of our culture and our conversation, and that allowing, that isn't a weakness. And I think that's perhaps a a downfall of our society is that whole patriarchal, we see the feminine as being weak, when actually the feminine is amazingly strong. And can we lean back and allow? Can we be that observer? Can we bring that nurturing, embracing energy into what we're doing? That's when things can be more in balance. And that's when, for me, that's when I can get out of my own way in these kinds of conversations.
That's beautiful. I wanted to piggyback on the masculine of always trying to, always doing, always saying, don't relax, don't nurture, don't have feelings, be business. That's kind of like our programming in the colonized, from us being colonized. But I wanted to mention this really powerful, I feel like the racism is a scapegoat. It's a what do you call it? An illusion, because it's really against the masculine and the feminine. I feel like if we look at it really, it's not really about black and white. It's really about the women being at the bottom and the men being able to control the woman's body, how she thinks, how she brings up the men to do whatever, to continue to control the world. I feel that racism is something that was programmed within us to blind us from what really is happening, is that they're trying to take control with this masculine energy. And so it's about man against woman. It's like, how do men treat women? How are women treated? I'm not trying to say we're victims here, but I do know that they are definitely on our neck. They definitely have their foot on our neck. They definitely are having this issue with the racism. I mean, racism is like the gateway to what's really happening, because then you're more aware in our observation with how we hate each other for no reason. If we really think about it, like, there's no reason. So this has to be a generational. This has to be a DNA thing. This has to be a program, or like our sister said, conditioning. Conditioning is a program. It starts running at a certain age. Or a certain time, and it's running forever. It's running for a long time until we get older and find out this is a block in our life. This is hurting our community. We have black and white people already merged. They have children that are mixed. What are we going to really do with this dumb-ass racism?
This is Lila, for those who are not familiar with my voice. I love what you just said, June, and I want to add to that just that it is a distraction. It's a distraction to keep us all, like, powerless, because it's underneath it's hatred. Like, these labels aren't even real. These are labels that were made up to dehumanize one skin complexion set of humans and put another skin complexion set of humans in a superior category. But they're political terms. They're fully invalid. And we've given them all of this meaning. And we're having all of these conversations, and we're shedding all of these tears, and we're feeling all of this rage, and we are distracted. We're all hurting, and all of that hurt is coming out the way it's coming out. And like June said, we're mixing. But, like, it's not like kittens are having babies with puppies. Like, we're mixing skin complexions. We're all crayons and we're coloring. That's kind of it. So
okay, the kittens and puppies broke my brain, Leela. Thanks.
Exactly. That's my point. When we talk about racism, it breaks my brain, because we are a human race. We are creating separation, and then we're arguing about the separation. When really we should be dismantling the systems that perpetuate the separation. I'm there. What petition do I sign? How many people do I share that petition with?
Yes.
I am in
like
that.
Action.
So this is Crystal, and what you just said is perfect, because if you're paying attention, what you're seeing, like, take away all the rioting and take away the looting, take that away, take that out of the context of what you're seeing. Most of these protesters are actually beautiful, amazing people walking hand in hand with each other. You are seeing Amish people standing out there. When the Amish go out and in the streets and protest, you know there's an issue.
Right.
I mean, like, you have people who would never stand with each other out there together holding hands and really trying to make a difference. And I think that's amazing. But I also almost want to say, like, if you look at the United States, it probably is beyond that. I don't know. But if you look at the United States, it's almost like we have these sleeper cells of hatred. And I really believe that, like, I know Jennie and I and Mandee and I have talked about this before. Michigan is one of those cells. Like, Michigan has got, like, such a weird vibe around it. And it's almost like somebody needs to, or people need to come in here and just, like, poof, atomic bomb it from the inside with some love and just wipe out the craziness, because there's so much preconditioned where people, I feel like people are so scared. Once the healing starts and you start to see that you are not the preconditioned human being that you thought you were, that's when the healing stops. Right. Because then you get terrified, because you start losing all recollection of who you think you are, because you've spent your whole life being told who you're supposed to be.
Right.
And so it's almost like there's so much fear surrounding getting outside of the realm of what you think you are and holding yourself accountable. It's almost like people stop in that action and they don't want to try. And it's so frustrating to me, because in this area specifically, I literally have to remove myself, because all I see is, what did he do? And I'm going to tell you that infuriates me something fierce, because I don't care what somebody does to be arrested. Nobody deserves death.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of those things. It's like, that's the first question I've seen over and over, not just saying, and then people take that conversation and they run it into the ground and they further victim shame the victim. Right. And so it literally doesn't matter what color the skin is. It's always this, like, and I know to you guys, it might matter what color the skin is, and I'm sorry for saying that, but to me, it's hate on all levels. Yeah. It's so much hate. And I'm like, where does that come from? And why can't you guys just be nice? Why? What?
It's a devaluing.
Like, so, why do you think you're better than everybody else? And why do you think that you somehow, like, you're the one here spreading this animosity and ugliness, and you're seriously trying to say this person somehow is beneath you?
Yeah, because they were conditioned that way.
Right.
So congratulations for shedding your conditioning. Good job. Or starting to shed your conditioning. Good job. And
yes.
That's the reason that it gets perpetuated, is because those people who are asking what did they do, it doesn't matter if the they is the woman who got raped, the child that got trafficked, or the brown-skinned human that got murdered.
Yes.
The people who are asking what did they do have set themselves apart. So there's that separation that I'm talking about again.
Exactly.
And that's conditioning that has been, how old is our country? It's been here that long. Right. The people who colonized these lands did it with that conditioning in mind. And so that's where the dismantling has to happen. Like June said, it's a DNA level healing that needs to happen, not just for the people who were traumatized, not just for the indigenous people who were murdered so that their land could be stolen, but the brown-skinned humans who were used as labor to build this country.
Right.
And the people who saw themselves superior enough to make this decision for other human beings.
Right.
That's
the Jim Crow.
Yeah. This is Leah, by the way. I have seen a lot of really fantastic videos or articles or whatever recently on social media, and I've been trying to say educate or begin my own like educational process into how deeply systematic this is. And I came across this video yesterday, one of my Canadian friends shared on Instagram, and I can't remember this lady's name, and I want to be able to do this justice, but she was commenting on a video of apparently a young white girl was having a conversation with her parents and challenging this concept of should, like, these people deserve to live. People of color deserve life just the same way we did. And she was like, the black lady who was commenting on this video saying, yeah, that's great. She's young, and I appreciate that she has the awareness and she can do that. But the issue isn't we should have to prove our value as much as what makes white people actually think that this is the correct thought process. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like the conversation shouldn't be a bunch of white people from, you know, different parts of the state saying, yes, this is okay, or no, it's not. Like, the issue itself is, like, as a collective, as white people, can we find that within ourselves, that sickness that says, like, why do I actually think that this is okay? You know?
Exactly.
And I think for all of us as, like, empathetic, you know, healers and teachers or whatever, or however you relate, it's like, I know for myself, like, I can feel this collective trauma and fear and these emotions beginning to bubble up. And I see a lot of ways the beauty in, like, please let these people express themselves, right? Like, the more of this emotion that we can process as a collective, the clearer we can all be on the other side of this, so that ideally we can really start to see that issue, you know? And it was really interesting. It was really inspiring to hear this lady speak about this.
Well, you know, you really touched my heart about let these people express themselves. Like, so the hardest thing, and all of you know how it is to be in a relationship, and they don't let you say what you want.
Yeah.
They don't let you express how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want any problems, because it can escalate for people like us. Mm-hmm. They can escalate so quickly, and to not be able to express, like if a police officer comes and don't listen, it's the worst thing in the world to not be heard. And so then our reactions is, listen to what I'm saying. You're not listening to what I'm saying, then it becomes something more. And so we do everything. You have to walk. I'm a different person, but I do know what that's like. I just, you know, I'm 49. I'm almost 49. So I've been here since the 70s when that stuff was happening. And in South Central, so it happened again in Atlanta, and when I was in my 20s, and here it comes again 10 years later. It's just this thing we have to get, but that expressing ourselves, like letting us express ourselves, letting us cry, and the thing is some people are not gonna like it. Like a lot of white people are not gonna like it. They're not gonna like that we actually feel, or we're expressing ourselves, or we're actually speaking on something they know is wrong. They know it's wrong. That's why they're angry, because they know it's wrong, and they don't want to change, but they have to change if they want to go higher, if they're spiritual people. So it's really something. But thank you for that.
We must honor and emote these emotions. This is part of the reason these generational curses keep perpetuating, because we are holding on to the guilt and the shame and the fear and the anger that us and all of our ancestors experienced lifetime after lifetime. And we learn everything from people's actions and reactions. Words are beautiful and powerful and spelling and magical, but we learn from watching our caregivers and the people who we love and honor and respect, whether that be their opinion on Facebook this week, or being a little child and watching the way your mom reacted to something that happened and what her face showed as opposed to what her heart may have been saying.
Right.
See, this week I've kind of went on, like, at the risk of being completely emotional. June, you made me cry, because And I am going to cry too, I think. I'm so grateful I'm so grateful that I can send my white son to college in Flint, Michigan, and know that he is not going to experience getting arrested or getting somehow manhandled by the cops just because he's white. But at the same time, I am so pissed off that people have to worry. Can you imagine how exhausting it is?
Yeah,
to wake up every single day as a mom not knowing if your children are going to make it home okay. Right. As a father going to his work, trying to make a living and not knowing if he's going to make it home okay because somebody's scared that he's driving down the wrong neighborhood. Are you kidding me right now? In 2020, this is still happening, and I feel like this is completely unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me, and I think that if you are white and not enraged right now, there is a problem with you as a human being. Your heart needs a complete revamping. If you can't see the trauma and understand the anguish, I can't understand their life. I can't understand your life. I can't understand your position because I have never had to live it, and there is no amount of anything that I could channel that could ever give me that. But I literally cannot understand for the life of me how tired people who live in cities where this is a problem are. And I am so sorry for them to have never been able to experience safety and security, which is the very first step in your spiritual uprising. You have to have that first. And so how can we ask these people to grow outside of the current existence of their life if they can't feel safe? There's no peace. So how can they grow? And so you have all these other people who can't comprehend their life or their existence saying, well, just change. Okay, well, that's easy. You just change because you're preaching to them something that you can't understand, and you refuse to speak. You refuse to listen. You refuse to ask questions. It must be nice sitting here in my castle, I guess, in Charlotte, Michigan, feeling safe every single day. That must be a great feeling that I get to experience when there's so many other people on this planet that don't get that. And to me, that's sad. As a mom, as a child, as an aunt, I literally cannot handle the fact that there are so many children of the universe or God living in a state of fear. I literally can't understand that. It's not fair.
And that's something you and every single other mother in America and almost person in the world is agreeing on at this time, that there are these basic level of human rights and human needs that we're wanting to ascend to and we're wanting to create here as we're creating this vision of heaven on earth. And what does that one first primal need look like? Feeling safe, And June, you said it. And like how many, as women, I'm a woman who's been in several romantic relationships where I've experienced that, or with my parents or different things. And like, how many times do we as individuals choose not to engage or choose not to fight that battle, which is absolutely our right, and we do not need to fight every battle. However, how much further along would we be collectively if we were a little bit safer to speak our truth at that time and to honor our emotions? Like emoting what you sisters just laid down with your emotions, that sent ripples through the timelines of generations because you were able to lay your tears on the altar. I'm a firm believer that tears water our soul garden so we can grow. Yes. And that's something that being in that masculine energy and taught over and over, we're taught to hold that in and to keep that, suppressed and to not allow those emotions to emote or move through us, whether that's our sacred anger or our sacred sadness or our sacred ecstasy. Either way, it's all meant to be, it was all designed to be this time, but in a shameful way, not in an honorable way.
This is bringing up a very interesting thing, and I'll be quick about this. I was just talking about this so many times in my last few weeks of readings, where when you're in a relationship or in a situation where you feel like you can't speak your truth and you feel oppressed and repressed, that is usually layers of parallel lives where this has been an issue for us. And this is something that is being red flagged as a karmic lesson then at that point. And this is where it gets difficult with the heartful empath, right? We come in with so much heart energy that we become doormats. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to state our claim because it's just easier to go with the flow. Well, for a minute it is. And then we start disrespecting ourselves and not loving ourselves the way that we're loving everyone else around us. So then, and this is where it gets tricky for the old soul empath, we come here to not only alchemize ego into heart, because this is an ego-dominant planet, if you guys haven't noticed, but we come here to have more ego in our heart so that we can have the backbone to say no or I am. And this is very difficult for the empath sometimes to swallow because we've been spoon-fed that you just be nice and you don't really rock the boat and you just go with the flow. And you can sometimes, but sometimes there is a fight worth fighting, and you raise up your kundalini, you raise up your energy, and you state your claim, and then you're breaking through karmic layers of past lives where you were oppressed, and you're also clearing out your throat chakra, and you're stating yourself as a sovereign individual who has views and ideas. And this is one of the most heartful things we can do for ourselves as heartful individuals. And it's good to merge and be one, but it's also good to bring in just a little bit of ego so we can express ourselves fully and not be afraid. And so what if we rock the boat? That's someone else's ego that they got to deal with. That's their karma. That's not on us. If we're heartful and tactful and someone triggers around us, that's their shit. Let them take that home and unpack it.
Yeah, that's the point. The point being is that when you're dealing with racism, you don't want to rock the boat because that could be your life. And so my point was that you not being able, if you have a group of people not being able to express themselves except through entertainment or when we're in our, having our parties in our space, with our families, loving on each other, having a good time, and not be able to do that outside, to do that on our planet. We're not able to be expressively happy or because we're too loud or, that kind of thing is oppressive to people to where now they're blowing up. Now they're like, you can't hold me in this box no more. And what is hidden now, like Jenny was saying, now our throat chakras, we've been expressing ourselves forever. We've been getting killed forever for expressing ourselves, for expressing our truth, for being ourselves, for building our communities, for them to come and bomb it, just for them to come and bomb what we built. Because we are entrepreneurs. We can build. We can live without white people. We can live without, black people can live just like the Jewish people can live, just like the white people can live, like the Indian people can live. Chinese people, they have their culture. We have ours too, but we're not allowed to express that. Everybody else is allowed to use our stuff and make money off of that. So it's just too much. We're not getting compensated for all of the atrocities we've gone through. Haven't been paid for that. We're still paying for it. We still have jobs where they don't want to pay us, and we're just as intelligent, if not more intelligent, than others. We don't get it. We don't. It's too much.
I love this uprising. I love that we're bringing attention to it. And people are taking to the streets, and that all these other countries are backing us up. About 4 or 5 days ago at my breakfast table, I said, I wonder if Europe's proud of us. We're taking to the streets. They get up and get out there. And wasn't even a day later, I was watching the news, and I'm like, oh, Berlin joined in. Oh, my God, all these other groups joining in and collectively supporting the Black voice. And, of course, all people, but definitely the Black voice specifically, because it's been oppressed for so long. And I love that we're making some noise and pushing some energy around. Again, it takes that little bit of ego to get out there and pound the pavement and make a sign and put your energy into it. And I love that we're bringing attention to it, because I've read so many cool memes over the last few weeks saying slavery didn't end because of candlelight vigils. It ended because of a massive brother-on-brother war.
What do you think
Family
we
yep.
did? Sang around the campfire, kumbaya? No, that's not how that went down. Come on.
After we
However,
won, we did the kumbaya.
We are learning and seeing that education is really what is going to help this the most at this point. And, with the distancing and people having, a lot of attention right now, this is really an opportunity to, I think, a call to action, especially for white people who understand white privilege, to really teach about it and what that means. Because we are so taught, depending on where you grew up and who you grew up with, every single one of us, and this happens, within every single community. So I remember June and I talked on a show a long time ago. This is taught very much and ingrained within the Black community as well, just as much as the white community, and it's by your ancestors. And so we all have to take a step back, which Crystal and Leah were talking about in this unlearning process, to say, what was I conditioned to learn? Like, what, was I taught, and how can I unlearn that? I've, in my personal life, been gifted some time to spend with my grandmother before she transitions, and man, did I learn some shit that I had to unlearn. And I'm like, I see why I was really manipulative when I was 19. Like, fuck. So, like crazy deep stuff that you're like, okay, but if you allow yourself to go there and you allow yourself to unlearn, this is where we get this balance and this alchemy comes in, and we can start to really release the tension that it holds over us, and so I'm just really excited for what this is all going to look like. I want to just take a very quick pause. I'm going to play the intro to one of our shows, The Witching Hour, to take a breath. And then Lila, I believe, and Crystal are going to have to jet. So I want to give them the floor for the last 10 minutes before they go. And we'll reconvene in just a minute. Thanks for tuning in with us here on Heart Over Ego Radio.
Welcome to the Witching Hour, where you're invited to tune in and drop out. Join us and settle in as you're guided through a trilogy of healing journeys to awaken, connect, and inspire. This is the Witching Hour.
Welcome back from our little breath take. You are listening to Creating Heaven on Earth here on Heart Over Ego Radio, ascending from the 3D to the 5D. Today we're discussing healing the racism wound. I would like to hand the microphone over to Lila, because I know she has to run shortly, and I'd like to know if you have any thoughts on your heart or mind at this time.
I am, first of all, really honored to be a part of this conversation because it's deep and it's powerful. And I want to thank y'all for y'all's vulnerability. Mandee, you're about to be quoted on my page. Because what do we need to unlearn? That is so powerful. And I think that that's probably pivotal in the changes that need to take place. And my interesting point of view on what we need to unlearn is separation in all forms.
Yes.
How beautiful.
And it's going to be a weird thing. I'm realizing this too. It's going to be a weird thing in our country to unlearn that separation, because brown-skinned humans in America whose ancestors were brought here in the beginning of this country are going to have the hardest time with unlearning that separation, because we're going to have to create identity for ourselves that that other cultures don't have the burden of creating. I don't have a friend who identifies as white who can't trace her heritage, even if they didn't immigrate recently. I hear I'm Scottish, I'm Irish, that's just the German in me or whatever. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm Nigerian in nature, because Nigerian people walk up to me all the time and ask, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, Mississippi, doll. However, if I go and I look for a group identity, I have a hard time finding one because I sound like I stepped out of the valleys of California. And if you grow up in the hood and you sound like this, you're not really going to be like collected by the Black people.
Nope.
And it's just what it is. And I obviously can't identify as white if you ever see me. You understand why I make that statement. I have a very dark chocolate tan for those of you who haven't seen my face.
Follow her on Facebook. You have the opportunity.
I'm chocolatier than her. I'm more chocolate than her.
However, I sound like I stepped out of Clueless circa mid-90s. So,
you do sound very Valley. I love it.
I do. My point being that, like, Black is the only identity that most brown-skinned Americans have. And so with getting rid of the separation, like, there's a healing that needs to happen there that I haven't quite figured out, because brown-skinned humans in America need an identity. And yet the label that we have that gives us an identity creates separation, makes our skin a target, makes our, I mean, honestly, fully identifying with that is part of identifying with being less than valuable, less than human, invisible. I'm not going to honor your people or your heritage. I'm just going to call you Black or Negro or nigger or whatever. And so I don't really have a solution for how we create unity without that label. And yet at the same time, those labels are creating separation.
Well, you opened up the space for it to be formed, that's for sure.
Yeah, the titles, but they help with identification, which why we need the identification when it should just be human, period.
Because we have to unlearn.
Right.
That was such a neat spin. I've literally never thought of it that I have never thought of that ever. I literally am sitting here. You're going to make me rack my brain probably for the rest of the day. I would like you to know. You just like blew my damn mind because it's really funny. I have no clue who the hell I am. Both sets of my family, one grew up in a holler in Kentucky. That's the racist side. And then the other side of my family was Native American, but there's absolutely zero that can be traced back. And so my son, his dad was adopted, and he talks all the time about wanting to know his heritage. And I'm like, why does it matter to you? What does it matter? I don't understand. I grew up my whole life. Like, I've had my DNA tested. I am a mutt. Like, I am everything. So I'm like, I don't
like,
even
I'm
know
American. I'm American.
Right. I
People
don't
are like,
know
what do you
what
like?
the hell.
What are you? I'm like, what do you think?
I don't know what the hell to embrace because I'm everything. I literally have everything in me, DNA-wise. And so you just blew my mind. I'm like, what, wow. Because to me, my whole life, I'm like, I don't care. I don't know. And my son, it's like, you just literally, like, you have to sometimes know what that means to you. You have to have that foundation. So thank you for putting it in a way that, like,
reflection makes you visible.
Wow.
And matter.
Exactly.
Right.
And how interesting is that? How interesting is it that we essentially have the same story? So I can't trace my heritage beyond my great-grandparents because slavery, right? And I joke that I'm an orphaned only child. And I joke about it because it really just, like, I am an only child. My mom's dead. I'm estranged from my father. It just is what it is. It's not something that makes me sad or anything like that. But I look at myself as, like, I am my children's family, period. However, if I leave my comfort bubble and I've created a really delicious bubble. So I get seen. But if I leave my comfort bubble, I can be very much invisible. If I drive 20 minutes east of my house, I can become invisible, and my skin complexion can make me invaluable.
Wow.
Yep.
That's powerful.
Heavy.
Not in a good way. Like
Right.
it's good, but it's bad. It's like
good
it's
to promote understanding.
Exactly. I mean, like, wow.
It really blows my mind that the two of you have that same story as far as if you look at potentially your mix. Lila and I were having this conversation the other day of, the Heinz 57 thing. It's like, okay, white, but there's like Irish and English and, the whole laundry list. If you have these two people who have the same story and they just happen to be slightly different complected, which, okay, if you look at Crystal and Lila, it's more than slight, but
Whitest girl in Ayton County, and that's why I don't believe my Native American or African side. I just don't get it at all. I'm the whitest girl in Ayton County.
You got all the recessive genes.
Right. My husband's got blonde-haired, blue-eyed cousins. But here's the same story. But the two of you could walk down the street at two different times, and you would have a different reaction from all of the people standing there. Every single one of them. Everyone. Even those of us who say, I'm not racist.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that, to me, is what's sad.
Yeah.
And wrong. And most of us don't even realize that reaction happens within ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
That is so potent. Well, I know it's amazing what spirit can do. This is what happens on Heart Over Ego Radio all the time. We allow spirit to lead. I just wanted, Crystal and Lila to hold some space and look at what we discovered in 10 minutes. It's fascinating. Lila and Crystal, you are the ones leaving right now, right? I have that correct.
Yes.
Each of you have just a couple seconds to share with our listeners again who you are and how they can follow you if they'd like to work with you.
Absolutely. Crystal, you go first.
I am mid-mitten medium, and I'm also going to kind of add, I haven't done much with this yet because I have to have people talking to me to work with it a little bit, and nobody knows who I am yet. So I have a page called Letters to Crystal, and it's actually open for this very discussion, not just this one, but if you have a story, if you have something, you can look at my videos and you can see I'm literally wanting to hold a space with people who feel they need a stage to hold space with somebody. That is what that page is about.
Wow.
And so if you feel the need to be open and honest about your life and some of the things and hold space not only with me, the universe, and your guides, I will do my best to do so. And you can contact me through that. And like I said, it's pretty blatant. It's Letters to Crystal. I'm putting more focus on that than the mid-mitten medium because that's my business. Letters to Crystal is completely free of charge. So please just know that that's what I'm trying to build with that. Other than that, I just want to thank you all so very much. I kind of hope that we have this again at some other time because I feel like I think Jenny said, this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And we all kind of need to be a part of this together throughout the process so people maybe at some point feel like they can call in and even, hold that space of anger for themselves around us because we're a safe place to hold that anger. And if, you need to call me out, then call me out because sometimes I need that in my life too, specifically to understand differently right now. And I'm willing to hold that space with anybody who feels that they need to do so. Okay. So I thank all of you so very much for giving me the honor and privilege to have this conversation. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
You too, Crystal.
Thank you both.
Lila.
Okay. So I'm Lila of Lila Sage Heals, and while my website finds an existence, you can find me on Facebook at Lila Sage Heals. And Lila is Lila, like Lisa, but with an L instead of the S. Okay. I'm glad Crystal said what she said at the end about circled back to Jenny saying it's a marathon and not a sprint. before we got started, and I know I'm gonna like take the lid off the can and then run away, but before we got started, someone asked if perhaps this instance, this time, is the time where we're not going to stop talking about it, where the conversation is going to continue, where the change is going to continue, or people are going to continue to demand change. And the thing that I saw recently that makes me feel like potentially yes is, I'm going to call it a meme, but someone shared a statement that said when George Floyd called out for his mother, Black mothers everywhere heard it and it broke their hearts. And the word Black was X'd through. And I think that someone's baby, we didn't hear Trayvon call for his mom, even though he was an actual child. We did not hear him call for his mom, but we heard this big-ass, grown-ass man laying on the ground crying for his mom.
Right.
I think that goes a lot further towards this is a human being versus that was a Black man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Lord, you're going to make me cry again.
It's the season for Kleenexes.
Thank you.
I hope we
Thank
all
you.
Stock.
Oh, I have them all over here.
So, my offering to everyone is just keep an eye on my page. I am hosting Healing Happy Hours, which is a guided healing followed by however much time Spirit gives us for mini healings, clearings, and coaching. And they are free of charge. You register and you get the recording of the healing afterwards. I don't record the clearings because I want it to be a safe place for people to release whatever they need to release. So I don't record those, but they happen. And the next one is going to be in 2 weeks.
And I can vouch for that space. I joined the other night with my friend who needed some deep healing, and Leela sure did that, and we witnessed it, and it was incredible, and I honor your gift. So how can listeners get a hold of you then if they want to work with you?
Find me at Facebook /Life with Lila, or just look for Lila Sage Heals on Facebook. I'm going to make those two things match eventually, too. I've been really lazy about my social media. Sorry.
It's fine. We don't like labels. It's all good. And you can find her here on Heart Over Ego Radio on Fridays for Rain Radio. Thank you so much for joining.
Naomi and I are getting really good at putting our contact info in the show notes.
Yeah, they are fantastic. You guys are perfect always. Well, thank you for joining, and we're sending you many blessings and light and love and all the good things for the rest of your day.
Thank you for hosting. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Beautiful.
Sisters, anybody itching to say a little something right now?
Yes. This is Nate.
Let it out.
So I'm so glad that Jenny started with it, that it's been brought up 2 or 3 times now, the whole idea of the sprint versus the marathon, and that this might be the marathon. I'm really glad to hear that, because I'll be honest, through most of this, there's been a sense of, oh, fuck, again. And frankly, I don't have a lot of faith in my fellow white people on this front. And I probably, if any of them are listening, I may have just had a whole lot of people unfriend me.
Oh, join the club.
Right?
But I do want to mention, and I do mention this because I speak to both sides, and during my community service time, I still do community service, but it's I do it a little different. But anyway, I wanted to mention that and remind that a lot of the slavery and remember the movie The Help, how in that era in the 60s after slavery, they had to work for white people, and it was still just really bad conditions. But without white people in certain aspects in our life, certain parts of our life, they helped us get through. They helped us. They protected us. They died for us. You know how many white men died because they were walking with Martin Luther King, and the white women who were beat up by their husbands because they were walking with Martin Luther King and his crew to Washington, D.C. A lot of those men were, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about those white people that sacrificed their life for us to get us to this point, to help us get to this point now. So we have to remember that. We have to remember that it's not just white people against black people, because a lot of white people have helped me in school and at work. You know, I just was blessed to white people just help me. And I had others that put me down, but I've had a lot to lift me up. So it's not, a lot of times when black people talk about, or people of color maybe, when we say white people, it's not, we know it's not all. We know it's not all white people. We know it's not all Caucasian. We know it's not that. So I want to put that out there too, that sometimes our conversation may seem like we're putting everybody in a group, and we're not. We're just talking about those that are mean.
Right. Well, I think that if you take that with the combination of, I can't imagine what it's, well, first of all, I own plants. I don't have kids. But I can't, no matter how much I try, imagine what it must be like for someone who is afraid, like my friend who is afraid every time her son goes jogging by himself. She's like, you put the Arizona State sticker on your car so that if you ever get stopped, maybe they will see that and have a different perception of you as an educated black person. I can't relate to that as a white person, because I have not and will never experience that in that same way. So more to the impact of it is with the marathon piece, it can be really easy once the fervor of this dies to go about our business and be like, oh, I remember that time. I remember the Rodney King riots.
Mm-hmm. I was just talking about that too.
Yeah, and yet then we stopped. We stopped continuing the conversation. We stopped, and so to me, having this conversation is amazing.
And I'll tell you why it's still going, probably because of the internet. Remember, we didn't have the internet when Rodney King.
Yeah. No.
We didn't have it like that. It was like just coming in, but we didn't have it. So we saw it on the news. So the news is always messing up. I mean, they're part of the programming, right? So now we have our own way of getting information. So, you know, you see them attacking YouTubers and stuff like that for giving good information or information they don't want us to know. They attack Google. You know, you can't Google certain things anymore. I've done so much research. I'm like, I can't even find certain things. Like I couldn't find the Boulder Files. Yeah. I couldn't find, like, these are black artists, authors who talked about how the white supremacy stole Egyptian or African culture. They stole everything from us and put their name on it. So they got rid of all those books. They're back. I just saw them back, but it took about 10 years or 8 years for that to come back. But yes, it's a big attack on. It goes deeper. See, the thing is that we're just at a shallow point here. We stepped in a couple of more levels from what happened with Rodney King and some other people who was murdered by the police. Police brutality, like the little girl who was abused by the police officer because a white woman called the police on a family at a pool party. So it's, at school, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And so to go in deeper, even black people, as we're going in deeper and seeing, now that we see everything, we're just like so enraged, and our parents didn't really want to bother us with it. Like maybe I'm sure some parents in my parents' generation, they, gave them information like, this is how you go outside, this is what you do, this is what you do. We had to figure that stuff out on our own, so we didn't have like we just saw things and we just prayed that we got through it. Like, I'm lucky to have gotten through South Central. South Central was, I came through that time era in the 70s and 80s when it was getting real ugly. But aside from seeing all of that, and
thank you for seeing that and witnessing that and choosing to incarnate through that so you can share it with us on a soul sister level. Thank you.
Yes, so it's, and then going to school in the Valley. So I went to school in the Valley, got my education with my white brothers and sisters. And even dealing with racism, the way that I dealt with it is maybe similar to some black people. Like Crystal was saying, she doesn't fit in anywhere. Like, I don't really fit any. It took a long time for me to fit. I still don't really fit with anybody. I really don't fit with just one culture. I fit with everybody. I fit with any culture, but I can't recognize myself only with healers, you know what I mean, or people like me.
I fit in with my witches and bitches.
Right. So my experience, like every black person has had their experiences, like white people have had their experiences, and I mean white and black, and I mean like all of the nations, everybody, the planet. So we've all had our experiences, and some people say you're not angry enough, June, or you're not, rallying enough, or you're not, I was like, I've done my time. I've did it. I've done it. I'm rooting y'all on. I'm here to help you when you get tired. You can come here and get some mental strength and get on back out there in the front line. I've been on the front line already. I'm praying for y'all. I'm, rooting for y'all. But that's the other aspect of, I see a solution, which that's the solution is not separate. I can't do the separation thing, y'all. I can't. If I come to a party, I might bring my white girlfriend. I love my friend. I love my Asian friend. I love bringing her because she likes to party. I like, you know what I mean? I can't do, and I don't think that's what the white people who are fighting or other nationalities are fighting, because they're like, I want to have fun. Mm-hmm. I don't want to live like this. Like, we can't look at them. We can't have relationships with them. I'm in love with this woman, or I'm in love with this man, and she's black or he's black, and I can't be with them. Y'all gonna be on me, and I can't. My kids are gonna be suffering, and we don't want that no more. So that's how I feel. I'm like, these people don't want this shit no more. They don't want it no more. They don't want this separation no more.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I mean, like, it's not in our human nature to just be separate, right? Like, and we've just been so deeply conditioned to just fall into this. And it's crazy. And, my experience growing up in the South, my family was really open-minded. So I've not really seen, the people that, who brought me up, I didn't really see a lot of very obvious racism. But even with them, it's still in everything that they do, where it's like you're in a restaurant and you're waiting to go to the hostess stand, and, another white person is walking up next to you, and those two people will stop for each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if it's like a white person and then a person of color, so simple for that white person to just like step in front. And it's like, and when I first started noticing stuff like that about myself, I was like, where does this, it took me forever to even recognize that it was something that I was doing. And I was like, where does this even come from? Because racism was not something that was so obviously prevalent in my life. But then you begin to realize how, deeply ingrained into our DNA and thinking, as we were talking about, it really is. And I was like, something so minuscule that I never would have noticed. Like, I have no idea how that comes across to another person, and to be on the other side of that and, witness that from a different, body and from a different space. Like, I mean, I have no concept of what that's like. So, but it's strange because, I've never had a hard time making friends with anyone. And when you're in those moments of this, like, really fluid, deep connection, regardless of the color of their skin or their age or where they're from, that separation feels so distant. And you tweak the situation just a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's back,
Right.
And it's crazy,
yeah,
like how.
It's true.
And I think you're right. People are exhausted with this. I think that's why we're seeing the uprising that we're seeing now is, all over the place. Like, police brutality is one issue, but you guys were talking about it's not black versus white, and you're right. I think at the end of the day, it's very much, good versus evil, and how do we stand up for what's right for everyone? Because if we can't stand up for a specific group of people, then we're not standing up for ourselves. Kind of like when Jenny was talking about having that just enough ego in the heart to not be a doormat. It's like if we can't stand up for our brothers and sisters who we want to feel connected to at the end of the day, but then we're not willing to use our voice or even put ourselves in just a little bit of danger to get a point across, then what is it? And I think we, as a collective, there's this exhaustion, and people are talking about the way that these protests are happening, and I love, love, love that we have the access that we do to social media, because I have learned so much just from people's live streams. And, I don't really watch a lot of news, but with everything being as it is these days, I try to plug in just a little bit so I can get info from, all sorts of different places. And it's so obvious how much that you're not seeing, and then you log onto Facebook and somebody has a live stream going. My husband and I went to our first protest ever Tuesday night, and there were probably no less. I mean, there was a very large group of people there for Chattanooga. It was impressive. It was really powerful. Wow. Really, really humbling space for the two of us to be in. We learned a lot. But in the group that we were in, probably like 75 or so people, just like in our direct space, no less than 8 cell phones up live streaming on different social media platforms. And to me, it was this like beacon of hope of like, people are fucking exhausted. They're tired of doing this. And they're so tired of watching us just get lied to, And I think just having that awareness there of knowing that like we have the power and the capability to find and get the truth out there these days. I mean, it's literally at our fingertips. We're all walking around with a small computer in our hands at like every minute of the day, and people are really starting to take advantage of that. And again, it's not just, it's for these people, because if we can stand up for our brothers and sisters, and, as a collective, we're doing it for everyone, but it's like, this is where the focus goes. Right. And how can we really utilize this, this situation to promote that healing? And
I think you said it. I think you said it with empathy. You didn't say the word empathy, but it's really about empathy, feeling. You can get it. An empath can feel someone else's feeling. It doesn't have to understand an experience as far as going through the experience, but if you connect with someone, you can feel it. You can feel it. You can write it down. You can write down all these feelings you feel: the despair, frustration, unheard. All of those feelings of being disrespected, or what that feels like. So sometimes when we say, "I don't understand it," and I'll never understand it, you may not ever go through that. But you understand it. You understand that if you went through something like that, you might do this, you might do that. Like I lost my mother, but for years I didn't lose my mother, and other people were losing their mother. I didn't know what it was like to lose a mother, but I could only imagine, like, that's awful. You lost your mom, and then I lost my mom. So a lot of times we're human beings. I wanted to say just human. We're human beings, so we're all going to experience. It's like what a lot of old black people say: same soup, different bowl. It's the same soup, it's just a different bowl, but it's the same feeling. We all got the same feeling. So you can't get an idea. This is not right. I wouldn't want nobody to do me like that. What's what the Bible says? Do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. So if you can, and all of us, human beings, we all sin on that one. We all have not treated each other perfectly. And so if we take away the separation, then we'll see that the white people, and I'm just going to use this word, the white people who were not able to see or understand their privilege, you can't be mad with them per se. You can't be mad with them because of their mentality. It's like I used to work at a place where, old folks home. And a lot of those people are rich white people. Up here on the 101, I can't remember, I'm not going to say the name of the place, but a lot of the older people were back in those days. And I used to have this man call me, "Come here, little black girl." Oh. But it didn't bother me because he is 99 years old.
Right.
And that's his mentality at that time. And luckily, because I had some education, or not even the education, but education as far as experience with white people, like, oh, that's how they think. And I have to find a way to live and walk and breathe with this person next to me, or we're going to be fighting all the time, or I'm going to get fired. So I learned you can't be mad, and I didn't look at it as this white person. I look at this person has an issue.
Breaking up just there you are, G.
Sorry. Oh, I went out.
It was breaking up just a little bit, but I just love it. And I think the biggest thing that you brought up was that person and the individual. And that's something that Jenny and I talk a lot about with raising the heart over the ego. It's going to start individually with each individual. And you looked at that person, you looked at that soul and thought, wasn't his experience. Maybe he's not as old a soul as I am. Maybe he didn't understand, white privilege in this lifetime or what he's doing. So I'm just going to choose forgiveness, and I'm just going to meet that person as a human and not take it personally. And this is ascension, and this is beautiful, and this is having, the power, really.
Right.
Ladies, we've been going about an hour and a half now, and I think we should definitely, we'll talk about it more about this marathon, but have a follow-up discussion to this episode, maybe once a month or something, as we follow this journey that we're all going through. But I wanted to see, would you all like to wrap it up now, or do you want to extend another half hour?
It's up to them. I'm okay. I'm blessed. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm so, so, so happy, and I love each and every one of you. I do. Thank you so much.
I think 90 minutes is fine if we're going to do a part 2.
It's really good because I want to continue this. So with that said, then, I'd like to give everyone who's left a minute to share again who you are and how our listeners can find you if they want to work with you. Who would like to go first?
I'll go. I'm Jennie McDaniel. You can find me on a couple shows on Heart Over Ego Radio, the Alchemy Sisters, and the Witching Hour. And we also do free readings on Sunday. That's the Everyday Psychic Radio show. So you want a little try of what we do that on Sundays. We have random healers on, random psychics. So go ahead and follow us on Blog Talk Radio or any major podcast app, or go to Instagram or Facebook and just search Heart Over Ego Radio. You'll find us all. There's a lot of us, and we're growing by the day. And we are just here to bring you the best content with the most heart energy. And you can find us at thealchemysisters.com. And I'm Jennie McDaniel, and I do a plethora of healings, my favorite being parallel life healings as well as emotional healing. And I love to do hypnosis as well as channeling. Lately, I've been channeling the Pleiadians on our show, The Witching Hour. We do a trilogy of meditations. I start us off. And this last Friday, we got to visit one of the planets of the Pleiades. We had a teacher instructor giving us some information. You should go check that archived event out. Just go ahead and go to any major podcast app and do Heart Over Ego Radio, and you'll notice all of the show names are right there. And we are the Witching Hour. So go ahead and check out what the Pleiades had to say. Each week we're going to go visit another planet in the Pleiades, and there are 7. And I thought that was so cool how there were 7 sisters tonight, and that is the Pleiades, the 7 sisters. So it was all very beautiful and very lined up. So go ahead, follow us, like us, tell your friends. It's all free. We're starting a community on Facebook, so look forward to that. Thanks, everyone. It's been a blast. It was so enlightening and has me chewing on things, and that's what the design of it was for. So mission accomplished. I appreciate you all.
This is going to be a very continued discussion, and it was such an awesome space. Thank you, Jenny. Next up, June, would you like to share?
Yes, I'm June Love. You can find me on Facebook, Beyond Tarot Live with June Love, where I do free readings on Wednesday, live every Wednesday, 3:30 to 4:30. I also I'm a Reiki master, and I'm certified, so I do certifications. You can find me on transcendinglove.weebly.com. And you can find me on Manifesting Your World with the Power of Transmutation. You can find me on Instagram, June Beyond Tarot Live with June Love. I have so many. I just did a webinar. I will share that link with somewhere. I'll share it with you guys, and then you guys can share it if you would like. And it is about on your intuitive gifts and how to enhance those abilities. The online course, The Art of Reading, will be available June the 16th on my birthday.
Yay, June. Oh, June on June 16th. Well, thank you so much for sharing your love with us.
I love you guys so much. Thank you.
And we appreciate you. Naomi, would you be willing to share how our guests can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Thank you. So you can find me. My website is naomicalderon.com, or you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Sunflower Sage, or, of course, on Heart Ego Radio, on Rain Radio, which is a Friday show that I co-host with Lila Sage. And I just want to say thank you so much. I love the beauty of this community, the people that you have brought together, Jennie and Mandee, the beauty in the color of the skin, of the hearts, of the personalities. It's just such a blessing. And for me, I really feel like taking that and taking this conversation, I think this is going to change some of what I had planned for my clients in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and continuing this conversation there from the stance of emotion, nutrition, and our environment, and the impact that has on the body and on the mind and on the spirit. So thank you so much for putting this together. What a blessing.
Oh, how beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your brilliant light with us. It is an honor to co-create with you. Leah, will you please share with our listeners how they can work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at greenwичvillage.net. Full calendar of hopefully soon to be in-person offerings post-COVID. Almost everything that we offer as far as new moon, full moon gatherings or sisterhood circles can all be soon will be able to be accessed online. Tarot and energy work is all there as well. All of that stuff can be done online. So yeah, greenwичvillage.net. You can catch me on the Witching Hour Fridays. And then also on Instagram, Leah Marie Magic with a K. And that'll send you also directly to the Friday show and then the website if you are so interested.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is Mandee Elam. I thank everyone who chose to tune in, drop out and tune in with us here on Heart Over Ego Radio today. This episode of Creating Heaven on Earth, Ascending from the 3D to the 5D, was all about healing the racism wound, and you heard a panel of incredible way showers and light workers who have incarnated here to learn about this wild world and this earth school that we all live in and want to make a difference. So we thank you for supporting us. Please follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, Heart Over Ego Radio. You can subscribe to any podcast app and find our show. We also have a YouTube channel for Heart Over Ego Radio, and we thank you all so much for being a part of our community. Have a wonderful day and a happy full moon. If you haven't taken a few minutes to maybe think about what's releasing in you, you still have time to do that. So, namaste. Aho.
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, Tune in and tune up. Body awareness and self-care. 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, One for All is Love. 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Greenwich Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.